Welcome back everyone, happy that you're all following again, and this is trading lesson number 9. We're gonna have it in this trading lesson about the candles. There is a lot of information about it, so I'll make all short movies about it so that you can just rewatch one if you want to, and I will explain every candle separately. So there will be a few movies about trading lesson number 9, and yeah, let's take a look what a candle is and what they do really in the market. What is a candle? Part 1. Now, this is a candle. Let me first read what it's saying. What is a candlestick? So this is a candlestick, completely. The Japanese candlesticks are formed using an open high, low, and close, often of the chosen time frame. What the time frame is, we already saw in TradingView, so that you have minutes, days, weeks, hours. That's a time frame. And if you put on the candles, if you put on the hour, this is 1 hour candle time frame. If you put on the 4 hours, every candle will be 4 hours time frame. When you put on the days, every candle will be a day time frame. So that's how it works. So now, what does a candle really do, and how does it work exactly? So if you have like a day time frame, that means at the starting day of the of the candle, it will open this one, will open here where my cursor is at this point, and the lowest point it has been on the complete day was here, down on the wick. So we call these staffs wicks because they are not part of the body. So this is the body, and these are wicks, the upper and down part. So what happens? At the beginning of the day, it opened here, and at the end of the day, exactly 1 day later, so 24 hours later, it closed on this part. Within that day, so every time, every hour in the day, the market did something different, and you saw that the market went at its lowest point at that day to here, and its highest point was up here at the top of the wick. So this is how you read a candle really. So this is the body. This is the most important thing of the candle. The wicks are also nice to put your trend lines onto it, but that we will see in another movie, how we do that. So what you really have to remember, that this is a positive candle. And why? Because the open starting of the day was lower than the closing part of the day. So if you have an opposite candle, so when the market is going downwards, we have the candle beside here, that you can see the opening of the day was higher and the closing of the day was below it. So that means that we have a negative accumulation of coins. So that means also that the selling that day was more than the buying of that coin or of that price action. So that means if you can just put it like, if this was 1,000 euros where it opened, and this was 900, that it meant that there was more people selling, so that the price action was cheaper at the end of the day than it was in the beginning of the day. But here we just make a short, and that means that we could have gained a few percentages by doing it lower. So the lowest point of this day was still here, and the highest point is here. How can you see where the lower and the higher points is? If you zoom in time frames. So if you have 1 day candle here, that means that you have, if you put it in a 4-hour candle, that you have many more 4 hours. So that you will have seen more. So that you can zoom into it. That means that you get more information about that day, what the market did. So that's why we always stay on high formations first, this high time frames first of all. So, and then we zoom in so that we get more detail about a week. That we get more. Then we have, if you have a week, we have 7 days. Then if you have a day, you got that much 4 hours into it. So that means 5, 6, 4 hours into it. That means again, if you zoom in, that you have 24 hours from that day, so that you have 4 hours per candle again in 1 hour, so that you can constantly zoom in and more, so that you can accurately see where the market is at that point. So this is how you read the candle. We go over it again for short. So this opening down here was an opening of a day candle. This was a closing of a day candle. This was its highest part of that day, and this was its lowest part in the day. Where in that day? That you can only see when you zoom in. But It's important that you know how those candles open and close so that you can read it perfectly. And what is the meaning about it? That this at this candle there was more buying pressure, and at this candle there was more selling pressure. So when there is more selling pressure, the candles go down. When there's more buying pressure, the candles go up. So you have to understand the open and closing of a candle in order to read them and understand them. So I hope you understand this now. When a candle goes open and closes in a time frame, this is really important, people. So if you do not understand it, how I explained it, please leave it in the comments so then I can explain it again. For some reasons maybe something wasn't perfectly understandable. If it is, please give me a comment too. That's always nice. So now we have two types of candles also. We got short candles, long candles, and we have with long, they call it shadows, we call it wicks too, because they have long points, smaller points, longer points, and smaller points. Types of candle, and what do they tell you? So the difference between a small candle, this one, and a big candle like this is really the only thing that difference is how much buying pressure there was. So this one is white, so that means that there is buying pressure. So that meant that the candle opened here and closed up here, and there was only this much movement in the market in the whole day, because this is the opening and the closing. So that means there was a small amount of buying pressure. If you look at the candle beside it, the very long one, that meant that there was a lot of buying pressure in that day, because it is a huge candle. So that means that it gained a lot of percentages that day. Now, except of the other one beside it, this is a small downward, so there was a small amount of selling pressure. And here there was a lot of selling pressure, because it opened here and it closed down here. So there was a lot of selling pressure, and that means that the people that were shorting the market were more in power than the people that were buying the markets. We will see this if this comes to certain points in the market, like resisting and support level, that this candles will be very accurate to use on those time frames and on those places in the market. But that we will see on a longer time. Long wicks and little buy power. Long wicks is the same as little buy powering during the opening and closing of the market. What do I mean? If this is a candle and he started up here and he closed down here, in that daytime there was a lot of selling and buying pressure all over the day, but at the ending of the day it still was a small wick. So this wick tells you something very important. What does it tell you? First of all, in that day there was a lot of buying pressure, but the sellers gained ground here, and they made sure that it still closed with a lower closing than it opened. So because this is a negative candle, so that means that there was more selling pressure than buying. And in that day, the buyers gained ground, and by the end of the day, they lose the ground again, the buyer pressure, and they went all the way down, and it even closed as a negative one. So do remember this. This is very important to do it, because we will use these candles later on in the market itself to find a very nice entry point. So please, if you do not understand what I'm saying, leave a comment so that I can adjust my words maybe and make sure that you can understand it better. So they call this a long shadow or a wick. It's the same like you want to call it. So here what happened on this one is the opening was down here, and they closed it at the day it went up here. But in that day itself, the selling pressure was very hard, and the buyers by the end of the day gain the ground again and make sure that it's still closed at positive. So this, you really need to understand what is happening in this market. That means that the buyers are in this candle gaining ground and making sure that they are winning. You kind of see it like that, and that in this candle that the buyers are not winning, but the sellers are winning, because the buyer started by winning and then the sellers just pushed the market against it and went down again. So if you understand this is a very good start of it, and I will leave it by this for today. So thank you much for your attention. Much love for everyone. Smile and be thankful. Love each other. And I'll see you guys in the next lessons. And please share my channel with other people that want to learn how to trade the market and everything, because all the lessons will come quicker now, because I'm really wanting to help everyone to understand this. And be well. See you guys in the next lesson. Ciao.